At the company annual party, I won the ultimate prize. A luxury RV, while the office favorite, the green tea colleague, only got the unwanted 100 tons of coal. But she threw a tantrum right on stage. Under the boss's pressure and persuasion, I had no choice but to swap prizes with her. Unexpectedly, a deadly cold wave hit, and a global zombie outbreak occurred. The green tea colleague fled in the RV, but due to global energy shortages, the car ran out of fuel halfway. The gasoline turned useless, and she was eventually bitten to death by zombies. Meanwhile, I relied on coal as a hard currency, not only staying warm but also trading for tons of supplies. But soon, disaster struck again. A gang of thugs looted my supplies and kicked me out of my home. Surrounded by zombies, I died in their jaws, only to open my eyes again. Back at the annual party, the night of the draw, I turned my head, and saw my colleague Suyu, glaring at me with envy and resentment. Her eyes burned with undisguised hatred and fury toward me. Seems she's also reborn. This time, she still drew the 100 tons of coal, but she acted unusually happy. Everyone thought she was too disappointed and had lost her mind. Only I knew, she'd realized the RV was useless in the apocalypse. While coal was the real lifeline. In my past life, I thrived thanks to the 100 tons of coal. I won at the annual party, enjoying hot pot and warmth in my apartment. But Suyu, consumed by jealousy, tipped off a gang of thugs, telling them my apartment was stocked with supplies. They broke in, took over my place and supplies, and threw me out. Suyu sneered at me, saying if she'd chosen coal, she'd have been the one living large. She blamed me for stealing her luck. Now, reborn, she only wants the coal. Colleagues urged me to comfort Suyu, especially the department head, who's involved with her, demanding I swap my luxury RV for her coal, to spare her mental trauma, or I'd be the villain. Just like last time, but this time, Suyu shoved the department head away, whimpering pitifully. This time, 100 tons of coal, and she spoke. She shot me a sidelong glance, oozing smug triumph. The new intern was baffled, asking Suyu right then, why coal? Why would you give up a luxury RV for 100 tons of unwanted coal, Suyu? Of course, she wouldn't mention her rebirth, so she pouted and said pitifully, she didn't deserve the luxury RV. She was a girl from the countryside. 100 tons of coal would be enough to keep her family warm for the rest of their winters. Hearing Suyu's words, her colleagues praised her for her filial piety. Watching this nauseating performance, I found it amusing. This coal, though a hard currency in the apocalypse, was also a hot potato. Once leaked, it would instantly become a target. But these were things I didn't need to tell Suyu. Calmly, I put the RV keys into my bag. Seeing this, Suyu let out a mocking laugh. As she passed by, she even whispered just loud enough for me to hear, saying that all my good days would soon be hers. And I'd end up like her in the previous life, bitten to death by zombies, while she would comfortably survive the apocalypse in her apartment with supplies and coal for warmth. I pretended not to understand on the surface, but inside, I was laughing. What kind of privileged life? First, you need the strength to keep it. I could even imagine Suyu's panic expression when facing thugs and zombies. I took the RV keys, quickly found my RV, and closed the door. Immediately, I dialed the number. It was a real estate agent from my past life. Someone wanted to buy my house. In my past life, I refused, but now I knew. When the frost apocalypse came, all fixed residences would become exposed targets. Crowded places were breeding grounds for disaster. Time was tight. I needed to maximize my funds. The agent's name was DeChong. I got straight to the point. Could my house be sold within 3 days? He was shocked. Just days ago, I had firmly refused. Why the sudden change? I told him I only cared about speed. I'd accept 10% below market price. DeChong agreed immediately. I demanded the deal be done in 3 days. After hanging up, I moved to step 2. I downloaded every loan app, and in one night, borrowed over 3 million, but it wasn't enough. Using my past life's memories, I wrote down the winning numbers for the 50 million jackpot 3 days later. Once the money came, I started modifying my RV. I contacted the best security company in the country, claiming I was a woman planning a solo road trip but feared stalkers, and paid 10 times the price for extreme security. I had them modify my RV, and demanded they finish it in 2 days. I had the exterior shell, reinforced with the same material used in bank vaults. Even machine gun fire wouldn't leave a scratch. All the windows were replaced with bulletproof glass. Added a high-voltage steel mesh outside for extra protection. Any zombie that touches it will instantly turn to charcoal. The tires are all military-grade run flats. Plus, I added heavy-duty snow chains. The doors were upgraded to triple-layer blast-proof. Each layer requires a different password and fingerprint. The mechanics were baffled by my over-the-top demands. Some even suspected I was a fugitive on the run. But I shut them up by tossing out stacks of cash. That shut them up real quick. Watching the cash rain down, the mechanics worked so hard the tools started smoking. Even the laziest guy on break jumped right into the modification frenzy. Once done, I installed the world's most advanced self-circulating water filtration system and a generator in the RV. Solved the water and power issues. Then I hired ex-Special Forces soldiers to mount high-capacity solar panels on the roof. Added battery packs and 12 external cameras for full coverage. Now I can monitor every angle from inside. But a new problem arose. The RV's limited space couldn't hold all my supplies. Fuel was the biggest issue. Without power, this thing would turn into an icebox. I gnawed on my finger, brainstorming solutions. So hard I accidentally bit through my skin. Suddenly, asterisk, a voice echoed in my head. Congratulations, host. RV system unlocked. For completing the modifications, the system rewarded me with infinite storage space. A portal appeared at the rear for unlimited item storage. I grabbed my phone and went on a shopping spree. Thousands of water barrels, crates of crackers, instant noodles, ready-to-eat meals, canned food, antibiotics, bandages, piled into a mountain. Stocked up on feminine hygiene products too. Enough to last me a lifetime in this RV. I emptied every gas station in the city at double the price. Bought every last drop of fuel. Energy crisis? Solved. Finally, I blew the rest of my savings to contact a foreign mercenary group. Bought a truckload of guns, ammo, and bulletproof vests. Now I'm ready for zombies, and the worst of humanity. I could still put up a fight. The time had come to the last day before the apocalypse. Looking at the alternate space filled with supplies, an unprecedented sense of security enveloped me. I knew. I now had the means to fight against the apocalypse. I began checking the surveillance. Everything around the RV was normal. The streets were still bustling with people, peaceful and serene. Just as I was about to turn off the surveillance, I noticed a man in black, standing not far away, staring intently at my RV. Even from dozens of meters away, I could feel the ferocity and greed in his gaze. I tensed up instantly, though the apocalypse hadn't arrived yet. The evil in human nature had come early. I immediately drove away, heading to the suburbs overnight. But the real crisis was quietly approaching. At 7 a.m., I was awakened by waves of cold inside the RV. I got up to check the thermometer. The temperature inside had dropped to -10 degrees Celsius. I realized the extreme cold had arrived. I quickly turned on the RV's heater, and a warm breeze hit my face. Looking out the window, the city was completely covered in snow. I checked the surveillance, but the heavy snow made everything a blur. I knew this blizzard wouldn't stop anytime soon. The temperature would keep dropping. Anyone outside for just a few minutes would die from hypothermia. Right then, my phone vibrated wildly, with notifications popping up one after another. The government issued emergency broadcasts, banning citizens from going out. The Weather Bureau issued the highest level warning. The coldest regions had even reached -160 degrees, 4 times colder than Antarctica. There was even more shocking news. People had spotted zombie-like creatures, warning everyone not to open their doors lightly. But none of this concerned me. I was in the suburbs now, where even a human shadow was rare, let alone zombies. Calmly, I turned on the TV and grabbed a bag of chips, watching the news as chaos erupted in the city. The extreme cold had just begun, but many had already frozen to death at home due to power outages. I remembered in my past life, I was helpless in my own home, barely surviving on burning coal. But in this life, I was sitting in a luxurious, pre-modified RV, enjoying 26-degree warmth and binge-watching my favorite shows. I even used spare time to organize my supplies by expiration date. Just then, my toxic colleague started bombarding me with messages. When I didn't respond, she even video called me directly. Outside the building was freezing cold. Inside, zombie mutations could erupt at any moment. But right now, my toxic colleague Suyu was in a European-style mansion. Wearing a tank top and full makeup, she video called me. She fake asked if I was cold. I hugged myself, pretended to shiver. She smirked, then turned the camera toward her dinner plate, bragged about her cozy life. I set the phone aside, stepped into my pocket dimension, picked today's breakfast. Suyu had no idea. In days, the whole city would black out. Everyone would lose their minds. Crime rates would skyrocket. The coal she relied on would become everyone's target. Suyu got mad when I didn't reply, hung up. Then I found out. My pocket dimension wasn't just huge. It kept things fresh. Before doomsday, I tossed in fruit and raw meat, still perfectly fresh. I couldn't wait. I fried a steak. Minutes later, it was done. Set it on the foldable table, ate. With each bite, I remembered my past life, betrayed by Suyu. I stabbed the steak. This time, no one betrays me and gets away. After eating, I did my routine check, RV security. Locked all windows, checked the generator, scanned the monitors. Still all white outside, but now with frozen ice statues. I zoomed the camera, spotted a red mark on the RV. I sat fast. Zoomed in, a red circle. Words, goods here. Left by the mechanics? Or that stranger days ago? One thing's clear, my RV, my home, my doomsday fortress, is targeted. Day 1 of the Ice Age, and I face life or death. Rush out to erase the mark? Might walk into a trap. Leave it? I become a target. Weighing options. I'll wait and see. In the apocalypse, one wrong move means death. If I'm right, they spotted me during my big shopping spree. I've got supplies. But I'm weak, perfect prey. Next few days, I just slept and watched screens. 5 days later, a car appeared. A man in black got out, walked toward my RV. He reached the door, started pounding. Said he was the delivery guy from days ago. Saw I paid well, wanted to sell me his stuff high price. I stayed put inside. Such a weak lie. Clearly, he's not that clever. Seeing my delayed response, he grew agitated and started pounding on the car door with his fists. Then he pulled out a screwdriver, ready to pick the lock, even threatening me, saying he'd call the local gang if I didn't open up. Not only would the supplies be gone, but my life would be in danger too. Outside, he was slamming the door with all his might. Inside, I was elegantly enjoying a bowl of warm wontons. Watching his clumsy performance, I couldn't help but laugh. The blast-proof door I spent a fortune on wouldn't even budge under his fists, let alone leave a scratch from a power drill. The loud noise from his banging drew the nearby zombies. He was so focused, he didn't notice one sneaking up from behind, sinking its teeth into him. Within minutes, he was dead, eaten by zombies. After their feast, they wandered off. An hour later, I checked the cameras to confirm it was safe, then stepped out to investigate. On his phone, I found another shocking secret. He was a gang member. My location was already exposed. Earlier, he told his crew about the RV, and taken photos, planning a full-on assault. But with the extreme cold worsening daily, he worried supplies would run thin, so he decided to strike my RV first. I quickly wiped off the RV's markings, tossed his phone far away, and got back inside. I started thinking my location was compromised. Staying put meant a clash with the gang. I had to leave immediately, so I started the engine, and headed for the deeper outskirts. But soon, the RV stalled. The snow was too deep, trapping us. Panic set in as memories of my past life, betrayed and surrounded by zombies, flooded back. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm, and grabbed my phone. Searching for ways to free the RV from the snow. One idea was modifying the tires. But the freezing cold outside risked attracting zombies, too dangerous. I scrapped plan after plan until... Frustrated, I returned to the alternate space. Staring at the wall of weapons, I steeled myself. Even if the RV stayed stuck, I was ready to fight the local gang to the death. Just as my nerves frayed, my phone rang again. See you calling. I reached to hang up. But that familiar voice chimed in. Congratulations, host. You've survived. New features unlocked. The extreme winter apocalypse RV system reactivated. A reward screen appeared. I didn't hesitate. Chose the track upgrade, and instantly, the RV's tires transformed into snow tracks, and I could freely switch its form. I immediately ran to the driver's seat and headed into the distance. The phone kept ringing non-stop. It was Suyu calling. I answered the call, and she cheerfully asked me if there was any life-saving equipment she could trade for with coal. Turns out, her coal had also been targeted. Although she had stockpiled supplies, she hadn't taken any security measures. A large group was smashing her front door. Several of them were armed, ready to storm her place at any moment. I refused outright, but she started playing the emotional card, talking about how close we were at the company. She mentioned I used to be her mentor, but that just made me laugh. When she first joined, I treated her like a little sister. but she actually stole my project files in the middle of the night, then used her connections to pin the blame on me, nearly costing me my job. Seeing I remained unmoved, she suddenly let out a creepy laugh. She thought of something. She walked to the room's door and shouted outside, claiming she knew a place with massive supplies, but she'd only collaborate with the strong. The last 10 survivors wouldn't just get inside. They'd also secure her safety. Instantly, chaos erupted outside. Suyu glared viciously at me through the video, smirking as she said she knew where I was. Then it hit me. The RV was originally assigned to Suyu. She'd already used it before, so she must have installed a GPS earlier. And now, I couldn't even locate where it was hidden. My location was exposed again. My nemesis from the past life had me locked in. The frigid apocalypse. Suyu rallied 10 thugs, plotting to raid my supplies. But I wasn't too worried, since the world outside was frozen solid. Ordinary vehicles couldn't move an inch. Still, to be safe, I decided to scout first. I entered the RV's ultimate space, and retrieved a military drone. Back when I bought weapons, the seller threw it in as a bonus for my generous payment. Never thought it'd come in so handy. I piloted the drone toward the city. A flood of gruesome scenes.
Instantly flashed before me.
Hordes of zombies chased people down the streets, while others clustered together, seemingly feasting on humans. The worst part? Some, to escape the zombies, shoved their companions down to buy themselves time. Suddenly, a zombie seemed to have spotted the drone. Blood from the horn of his mouth. Its body stiffened as it let out a roar toward the drone. I immediately steered the drone away. My palms were sweating because in my past life, I died horribly at the hands of these zombies. I piloted the drone toward Suyu's house. To my surprise, Suyu had stepped outside. She was surrounded by several burly men, completely focused on her phone, as if the zombies around her didn't exist. Suddenly, a zombie lunged from the side. Before I could reach Suyu, it was shot dead. Clearly, the people Suyu hired were no pushovers. But the scariest part was yet to come. Someone, out of nowhere, pushed out a snowmobile. So this was Suyu's trump card for stealing my supplies. At that moment, Suyu seemed to notice the drone. She smirked at it, and I knew. Our final showdown was imminent. Only one of us would survive. After the apocalypse began, I faced my first life or death crisis. Suyu arrived with 10 thugs, riding 6 snowmobiles straight toward me. I slammed the accelerator, trying to shake them off. A high-speed chase ensued, but the snow was too thick, and I nearly crashed into the guardrail several times. I thought, this chase was too risky. I might even skid off the road and plunge off a cliff. I slowed down, and they quickly boxed me in. Led by Suyu, the 11 of them slowly stepped off. Their snowmobiles encircled my RV, calculating how much loot they could take. She glanced at my camera, and warned me they had not just mercenaries but even wanted criminals, each one ruthless. If I didn't want to die painfully, I'd better open the door now. But I wouldn't give up this mobile fortress. Opening the door would be signing my own death warrant. Seeing my defiance, one of them shoved Suyu aside, grabbed an iron rod, and smashed it against my door. But the recoil sent a shock through his arms, making him drop the rod. Yet my door didn't even have a scratch. His face twisted in disbelief. Then, a slimmer man stepped forward. He examined the lock and realized it was fingerprint secured. He immediately reported it to Suyu behind him. Suyu burst into laughter. She rummaged through her bag for something, then confidently walked towards the car door. Pressed down on the fingerprint scanner, but I didn't think much of it. The fingerprint lock only had my fingerprint registered. We're not related, so there's no way she could open it. But the next second, the fingerprint lock beeped and actually opened. After the apocalypse began, this was the first time I felt truly terrified. Was the tragedy of the past life about to repeat itself? The car door slowly opened. The countdown to death had begun. In the previous life, my scheming colleague Suyu framed me by deliberately collecting my fingerprints. Who would have thought that in this life, it would become her ultimate weapon to destroy me? Turns out back at work, the company always used fingerprint scanners for clocking in. That's when colleague Suyu collected my fingerprints and opened my car door. Fortunately though, I had installed 3 layers of blast-proof doors. The second layer was facial recognition, which she couldn't possibly bypass. The burly man nearby lost patience, shoving Suyu aside, sending her tumbling to the ground. Seems like their group's relationship isn't that great either. The burly man raised his shotgun and fired at my car door. But after the smoke cleared, my door only had faint white marks. The man with the iron rod earlier had clearly run out of patience. He took a few steps back, took a deep breath, then charged at my car door like a mad dog. With a loud bang, I could even feel slight tremors inside the RV. I knew it was time to fight back. I pressed the button on the keyboard. Instantly, a blue electric current enveloped the entire vehicle. The man desperately ramming the door was electrocuted into charcoal. This sudden turn of events stunned everyone present. Suyu even screamed. Everyone scrambled towards the snowmobiles, trying to escape this electrified RV, leaving only the dazed burly man and terrified Suyu behind. But the two quickly snapped out of it. The earlier gunshots and loud banging. The burly man raised his shotgun and destroyed all my cameras. He was tougher than I imagined. Without cameras, I couldn't scout the outside situation. I didn't dare open the door recklessly to deploy drones either, because a massive zombie horde was surging towards me. Even though Suyu had left, the zombie horde showed no signs of retreating. Inside the vehicle, I could hear the zombies' growls. I considered driving through the zombie encirclement, but feared reckless action might get zombies stuck in the tires, leaving me completely immobilized. I didn't dare act rashly. With cameras destroyed, I couldn't observe the surroundings. I could only press the button to activate the high-voltage electricity. Instantly, growls and screams mixed together outside. After about 3 minutes, the sounds gradually faded away. I can't imagine just now how many zombies are besieging me, but fortunately, it should have been settled by now. Solved 2 troubles in succession. I tense nerves. The moment finally eased down a little bit. Since being targeted by Suyu, I have been dripping water for a day and a night now. I just want to have a good meal and work myself out. I'm from a different space. I took out the hot pot seasoning and chose mutton, beef, and tripe, etc. I'm going to have a big meal while I'm rinsing hot pot, while thinking about tomorrow's plan, although the zombies have been removed. But the fallen zombies, it's a natural roadblock. I have to get out of the car and move them. Otherwise, the RV will not start. But I don't know what's going on around me. Not only are you afraid of the remnants of the zombies, worried about Suyu, they're dormant nearby. I was scalded when I ate duck blood because I was a little distracted, and that's when my most anticipated voice appeared. Just listen to a ding. The system appears to congratulate the host on successfully passing the life and death disaster to unlock new functions. Even this reward is richer than ever. I had more choices, but then I got into trouble. I can't get a reward like this because I survived Suyu's aggression and the zombie siege at the same time. This reward directly gave me 3 options. Every option I don't want to miss is clearing roadblocks. Can empty the zombies around me. In the future, you won't have to stop because of roadblocks. Option 2 hardware upgrade can be the car's engine, etc. A comprehensive upgrade not only improves performance but also solves it. Locator left behind by Suyu. And the last option is the eye system. Not only can clearly see the situation around, and a kilometer of thermal imaging, even for a sparrow, can accurately capture me after some thought. I chose the heavily eye because of the roadblock as long as there is no one around. I can solve it myself. And Suyu has just launched an onslaught in the short term. I guess I won't be easily attacked by the eye system. It's the moment I most need at the same time. I also gradually figured out the principle of the system. It seems to be giving me rewards according to the degree of danger. The first time I broke my hand, so there was only one option. The second time, the black dress person was solved, although it was also 3 rewards. But 2 are unknown and the third is to solve 2 big problems. I was given 3 clear choices and I chose the reward. I checked the situation around the saloon car. Sure enough, there are still 4 or 5 zombies and the rest. With my arsenal, I should be able to handle things easily. Fortunately, Suyu and the others had already left the vicinity of my RV. I decided to rest for the day. I planned to deal with the roadblock tomorrow morning and fell into a deep sleep. Little did I know, the next day I would face a more formidable dark force than Suyu. I used the sky eye system to scan the area around the RV. Every living creature within a 1 kilometer radius was under my watch. Not even a single sparrow would escape my notice. After confirming there were no zombies nearby, I stepped out of the RV. I began cleaning up the zombie bodies. Then, I sent out the drone again and took control of it. I started a routine patrol of the nearby area. I planned to establish a safety zone marker, recording which areas were safe and which were absolute no-go zones. Suddenly, I spotted smoke rising in the distance. I immediately adjusted the drone's altitude and flew it toward the source. Inside a house, a man lay on the ground, covered in blood. A woman and a boy had their mouths gagged and were tied together near the bed, surrounded by 5 or 6 burly men armed with steel pipes and machetes. Their movements were synchronized and practiced. They packed the instant noodles they had looted and bottled water into huge hiking backpacks. Their faces showed no emotion, nor did they hesitate or show any mercy. They must have been part of some well-trained organization. Their robbery operation seemed like it had been rehearsed hundreds of times. Clearly, this violent gang was more professional and ruthless than Suyu's makeshift team. They appeared to be systematically clearing out city residents and forcibly confiscating supplies. Although they were still some distance away, facing such opponents, once targeted, it would undoubtedly spell another disaster. Sure enough, this well-trained group also noticed the drone's presence but didn't seem to care. They must have known about me all along. It suddenly hit me. They might be members of the same organization as the black-clad men who ambushed me earlier. I had already been one of their hunting targets. They were completely different from Suyu's team. Not only were they efficient and disciplined, but they also had a meticulous plan. Since I wasn't sure if they, like Suyu, knew my exact location, I didn't dare act recklessly. After all, the RV was too conspicuous. Driving it in the apocalypse was still too flashy. I decided to wait and see before they took their next move. Meanwhile, I continued using the drone to monitor their actions. Over the next few days, this gang continued their methodical operations. Many buildings were cleared out by them, and the method is the same as before. First, violently breaking down the door, and barging into loot supplies, and leaving no survivors afterward to prevent retaliation. They're systematically clearing this area, devouring it floor by floor, building by building. It won't be long before they set their sights on me. I need to gather more intel on them, their exact numbers, movement patterns, and their hideouts. But this group is extremely counter-surveillance savvy. For days, I came up empty-handed, and they didn't even care about my spying. As if they'd planned for all of this. I recalled my drone. I went into my alternate space. Though I'd bought plenty of weapons, I'd never used them before. I figured it was time to learn how to handle them. Better to fight than wait for death, because no one could predict what these desperate outlaws might do. Over the next few days, I kept watch on them, while practicing firearm handling in the alternate space. That morning, I was having breakfast as usual, when suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Who could it be at this hour? Had new enemies arrived? I quickly checked the surveillance system. Outside was Suyu, the same thug who'd attacked me before. Old shotgun, he knocked the door with one hand, while tugging the rope with the other. At the other end of the rope, Suyu sat with her hands tightly bound. Her face was covered in bruises as she sat in the snow. The thug put on a sickeningly fake, groveling smile. He claimed Suyu had manipulated him before, and begged me to open the door. Just one meal, and he'd be my personal bodyguard. When I didn't respond, he said he knew Suyu and I didn't get along. He brought her here for me to deal with. I stayed silent. Time ticked by. The thug's patience ran out completely. His fake smile vanished as he pulled out his shotgun, firing wildly at my door while cursing me. I still didn't react. My cold indifference seemed to enrage him further. Fine, he spat. If I wouldn't share supplies, he'd burn it all down. He snatched Suyu's phone and warned me he'd broadcast my RV's location to everyone, and he'd make sure they all knew my RV held stockpiles worth millions. By then, I'd be the biggest target in this apocalypse. But Suyu on the ground grew even more terrified. She knew if my location got out, they'd be torn apart by the first wave of scavengers. No cover outside the RV, and after his reckless shooting, it had already attracted nearby zombies. Suyu was crying in panic, and at that moment, an idea formed in my mind. A bold plan was brewing. After Suyu's failed ambush on me, she returned to her hideout. The temporary team quickly fell into internal conflict. At first, with ample supplies, tensions hadn't escalated. But as days passed, it wasn't enough to sustain 10 people. Everyone pointed fingers at Suyu. If she had investigated properly beforehand, they wouldn't have acted recklessly, and no one would have died in that operation. Gradually, the group split into 2 factions. It eventually turned into a bloodbath. Though Suyu and the thug survived, they were driven out by the winning side. They tried to steal supplies from others, but a man and a woman had limited strength. Slowly, distrust grew between them. That's why the thug kidnapped Suyu, to seek me out. I gave the 2 outside the vehicle 2 choices. Either we all perish together, or they follow my lead and move into a warehouse on the outskirts. I provide just enough food daily to keep them alive. Both looked stunned, but instantly, joy and greed flashed across their faces. Without hesitation, they chose the latter, further convinced. I was terrified of exposure. My RV's location was my greatest weakness, or so they thought. I planned to use them as weapons against the criminal gangs. In this dog-eat-dog apocalypse, if sharing a little food meant a better chance of survival, it was a bargain either way. Through the surveillance system, I noticed them slowly approaching my RV. I urged them to leave. Without delay, they sped off on their snowmobile. In the days ahead, I had more preparations to make. The battle for survival was far from over. Suyu and the thug stared blankly at the empty warehouse, their eyes filled with despair and resentment. The new home I'd prepared for them reeked of dust, with grime everywhere. clearly abandoned for years. Staying here long-term was impossible, even staying warm would be a struggle, and Suyu had somehow loosened her ropes unnoticed. She stood in the middle of the empty warehouse, looking around. She remained silent the whole time, while the thug on the other side seemed exhausted. He slumped against the wall and sat down, while I piloted a drone. I sent supplies to the two in the suburban warehouse via the drone. The drone carried a bottle of water and a bag of compressed biscuits. Seeing the drone approach, the thug excitedly rushed to greet it. But when he saw how little supplies there were, his expression turned from joy to rage. He shouted at the drone, berating me for being stingy. Watching him from the other side, I couldn't help but find it amusing. I immediately remote controlled the drone to return. Seeing this, Suyu lunged at the drone and grabbed the water and biscuits. She knew full well this was the apocalypse, being picky would only lead to starvation. When the thug saw Suyu getting the supplies, his eyes turned red with envy. Like a madman, he snatched the compressed biscuits from Suyu's hands. He tore open the packaging and wolfed them down, coughing violently several times from choking. Meanwhile, Suyu silently drank her water, still observing her surroundings. Just then, the thug approached Suyu, and the two whispered secretly. But what they didn't realize was, my drone had been modified earlier. Its audio quality was on par with top-tier surveillance equipment. Suyu told the thug, right now, he's highly suspicious. Once we gain his trust and get inside the RV, the water and supplies will all be ours. But they had no idea, they were the real prey. Nights in the apocalypse were always bitterly cold. Suyu and the thug huddled in a corner of the warehouse, shivering uncontrollably. The biting wind felt like it could tear them apart. Their thoughts were no longer on stealing my RV. Their top priority now was solving the heating problem. Meanwhile, inside the RV, I was wearing silk pajamas, enjoying ice cream with the AC set to 28 degrees Celsius. All of this was possible because of the RV system's pocket dimension. Before the apocalypse, I had stockpiled massive supplies, including fuel. I didn't have to worry about electricity at all. Aside from limited mobility, the RV met almost all my needs. Lying in bed, I browsed the latest news. Many media outlets had already vanished, leaving only scattered rumors. Some claimed to have seen twice mutated zombies, while others predicted warmer weather ahead. But truly useful information was scarce. I also lost patience and soon fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, as usual, I was making breakfast when a sudden inspiration struck me. I made a homemade sandwich and was eating it. Suddenly, an idea flashed through my mind, and I put down the sandwich. From the alternate space, I found a bucket of self-heating hot pot. Some were even willing to kill others for it. But without hesitation, I hung it on the drone, along with a bottle of water and some compressed biscuits. I opened the RV door and piloted the drone, flying toward the warehouse where Suyu was. This was both a test of their humanity, and the first step of my plan. If successful, I would dismantle them from within. Throughout history, the highest strategy is to subdue the enemy without bloodshed. Because I provided food for Suyu and the other, their main problem at this stage became how to stay warm and cling to my RV long term, leaving no extra time to plot against me. Meanwhile, with that bucket of self-heating hot pot, I successfully stirred conflict between them. When the drone arrived at the warehouse, both were shivering, their lips purple from the cold, weakly huddled in a corner. But when they saw what was hanging from the drone, greed instantly flashed across their faces. Both stood up at once and dashed toward the drone like madmen. But clearly, the thug had the upper hand in strength. He pounced on the drone like a tiger, pinning the hot pot beneath him. But Suyu, who was timid just yesterday, suddenly unleashed shocking force, slamming into the thug. Sent rolling 3 times, the thug was instantly enraged. He slapped Suyu to the ground. In the past, Suyu would have backed down, but today, it only ignited her fury. She viciously bit the thug's arm. In agony, he loosened his grip on the hot pot. Seizing the chance, Suyu snatched it away, but her joy lasted less than 3 seconds. The thug kicked her aside. The sheer gap in strength crushed her spirit, leaving her to watch helplessly as the thug devoured the meal alone. She lay on the ground, tears of frustration rolling down her face, but she quickly pulled herself together, wisely taking the water and biscuits instead. After all, survival was all that mattered. But the surprises I had for them today were far from over. What came next left them utterly stunned. Day 1 of our cooperation. Not only did I upgrade their food for free, but I was also willing to help them solve their biggest current problem. I told them there was a logging forest ahead, where they could chop wood to ensure heating, and I could even give them 2 sharp axes. This would help them improve their logging efficiency. My sudden kindness naturally aroused Suyu's suspicion. She said something was off but couldn't figure out my motive. I made an excuse that they had leverage over me, and if they died, I'd be in trouble too, brushing it off. Just like that, they followed the drone's guidance to the logging forest. The two excitedly started chopping trees, but they clearly lacked experience. An hour passed, and they'd only made shallow cuts. I didn't tell them. Just 5 kilometers ahead was a massive lumberyard, with plenty of ready-made wood. Meanwhile, I wanted them to lose their ability to think, through day after day of labor, making it easier for me to execute my next plan. While they toiled away, I in the RV was also troubled, wondering what to eat for lunch. In the alternate space, the dazzling array of ingredients overwhelmed me. After some thought, I decided to make dumplings myself. After all, nothing beats eating dumplings in winter. As I enjoyed them, I silently calculated that in about a week, my next plan could officially begin. But before that, I felt they needed a little more stimulation. I had to plant seeds of resentment between them, ensuring my safety. Only then could I truly secure my position. I entered my alternate space again, retrieving my trump card. For the next 3 days, my drone continuously delivered various foods to Suyu and the thug. Instant noodles, canned food, spicy noodles, but only one of each. Suyu was always the one eating compressed biscuits and drinking bottled water. Today, I decided to make another change. I replaced the water with milk. The thug was overjoyed and snatched the milk, and the canned yellow peaches on top. Suyu let out a furious roar, accusing him of stealing her rightful share. But the thug ignored her, calmly pointing toward the shotgun. Suyu was enraged. She clenched her fists and charged at him, ready for a fight to the death. But the thug just glared at her menacingly. Her intuition told her, it's best to let it go. Suyu clutched her hair in frustration. All of this should have been hers, because the one who knew about my RV was her, not the thug. But now, she could only watch others steal her victory. Time flew by, and it was already noon. I was frying steak in the RV. The steak sizzled in the pan. The rich aroma of meat filled the RV. This was not just my lunch. It was also my winning move for the day. I hung a piece of steak on the drone, wrapped it in foil, and even thoughtfully replaced the water with a small bottle of red wine. The moment the drone arrived at the warehouse, both of them were drawn by the smell of meat. The thug eagerly tore off the foil and saw inside. The marbled steak made him cry with excitement. He even kneeled right in front of the drone, devoutly took the bottle of red wine. I believe this night was the happiest day he'd had since the apocalypse. Meanwhile, Suyu stared blankly at all this. Suddenly felt the world spinning. The huge gap in living standards was really driving her crazy. The timing was perfect. On one side, the thug was devouring the delicious food and wine. On the other, Suyu hadn't eaten, or even had a drop of water all day. The stark contrast of reality completely shattered her mental defenses. Because it's always been about fairness, not scarcity. Suyu was staring intently at the drone. It seemed she had made her decision. So I piloted the drone, slowly flew outside the warehouse. Suyu followed along. The thug, lost in the delicious food, didn't notice any of this. I told Suyu through the drone. I needed her to be my spy, to observe the thug's movements, and give me info on the others. Help me secretly gather post-apocalyptic resources. In return, I'd sneak some food into her rations daily, like chocolate or nuts. Depending on her performance, I might even give her the same food as the thug. Suyu was the type to stop at nothing to get what she wanted, but she was also smart. She understood my intentions, because no matter how good the food I gave her, she couldn't possibly take it from the thug. This was the best plan for now. She nodded without hesitation. Of course. I knew this partnership wouldn't last. Suyu was the kind who would do anything to get her way. Someone who has been holding back for a long time. I didn't mention anything at all during this negotiation about the RV's location, because both Suyu and I knew this is her biggest trump card. Without the location, she would lose all control over me. At that point, forget about improving life, even the most basic. Hardtack couldn't be guaranteed. And so, we reached a cooperation. I also started enjoying steak. This is my carefully selected premium beef. The meat is so tender it feels like it could drip water, not only plump, but also with a hint of sweetness. After the meal, I checked the previously marked map. My next plan officially began. At the cost of a few chocolates and some bread, I successfully made Suyu temporarily submit to me. Through deliberately creating conflicts these past few days, Suyu and the other person had gone from being partners to becoming competitors. I had her secretly monitor the thug's movements for me, reporting any issues to me immediately, and promised her if she could successfully eliminate the thugs, then instant noodles, milk, even beef and other supplies would become hers. At the same time, I also made her reveal the situation of her other team members before. The composition was quite complex. There were gang leaders, prison inmates, and even smugglers from other countries. Their only common point was that they all had criminal records and were ruthless. I decided to deal with these troubles one by one. The top priority now is to figure out the city's gang's member composition and their daily routines. The more intel I have, the more confident I'll be. I plan to have Suyu and the thugs go into the city to collect supplies in the next few days. Of course, gathering intel is more important. After successfully delivering Suyu and the other person's daily supplies to the warehouse, I decided to thoroughly check my armory again. As soon as I stepped into the alternate space, a voice that delighted me finally sounded. Congratulations, host, for completing the side quest. Win over Suyu. Quest reward, space upgrade. I couldn't wait to check the reward. This time, the reward was actually transforming the alternate space. The screen showed me many options: bathroom, shower room, bedroom, kitchen, dining room, even a gym. It seems the system this time wants to help improve my living conditions, but each one is tempting. After some thought, I decisively made my choice. After the apocalypse arrived, I might be the first person to experience such a life. Since the apocalypse began, forget about hot showers. Even daily hygiene has become a luxury. I can only wipe my body simply after sweating every day. I've been longing for a hot shower for so long. As I made my choice, a door suddenly appeared in the alternate space. I pushed the door open and went inside. Inside, there was not only a shower room but also a large bathtub. I was so excited that I quickly changed out of my clothes. I started soaking in the hot bath. Outside, it was a frozen, snowy wasteland. In the extreme cold, I was comfortably lying in the bathtub, enjoying a moment of peace. This stark contrast is hard to believe. I'm in the midst of an apocalypse. After the shower, I felt much more relaxed, and my thoughts became clearer. As I dried my hair with a towel, I observed Suyu and the other person's condition today. I decided to start acting early. After they returned to the warehouse, I distributed supplies as usual, but the supplies were reduced to 2 boxes of compressed biscuits and 2 bottles of water. The spoiled thugs vented their dissatisfaction at the drone. I could only pretend to be aggrieved and say, because of the sudden addition of 2 people's worth of food, my supplies might soon run out, especially the energy issue. My RV is almost out of fuel, but luckily, I've been observing the city situation every day recently. I can tell them the exact location of nearby supplies. All they need to do is bring me a barrel of fuel in return. Of course, this is just my pitiful excuse. I previously bought out all the gas stations in the city. The RV's energy will never run out. This is just an excuse to get them to take action. After the thugs and Suyu discussed it, they agreed to my plan and prepared to set out at dawn the next day. The next day, as soon as it was light, I gave Suyu and the other person the next part of the plan. I told them, based on my drone surveillance over the past few days, I found a residence with a large amount of supplies. If they succeeded, they wouldn't have to worry about food and drink for a year. All I asked in return was 2 barrels of fuel. Suyu set out immediately. At the same time, I began monitoring the movements of that criminal organization. I wanted Suyu to confront them head-on. About 2 hours later, the 2 of them arrived in the city smoothly. I directed them to hide in the stairwell, waiting for the right moment. At my command, they quickly went upstairs. The thug reached the door and, without hesitation, shot the lock and kicked the door open with force. The sight of supplies piled up like a mountain immediately made their eyes gleam with greed. They quickly stuffed their bags with supplies. Just then, the loud gunshot from earlier. The criminal gang was lured in. 6 men quickly returned to their hideout and saw Suyu. Without hesitation, one of them lunged at her. The thugs started brawling, and Suyu didn't waste time talking. She pulled out the stun gun she prepared and got ready to fight. One of them didn't react in time. He took the full force of the stun gun. After convulsing a few times, he collapsed. Meanwhile, a gang member was choking the thug's neck. But the thug was clearly stronger. He flipped the gang member over, taking out 2 opponents instantly. This put the gang on high alert. They called for backup on their walkie-talkies. At the same time, they all drew their weapons. It turned out more than just the thugs had guns. With another gunshot, the thug took down 1 man but left himself exposed. With a bang, the thug fell into a pool of blood. One of my biggest threats was eliminated. Now, only Suyu remained. I thought, today would be the end of my grudge with her. But she was also armed with that pistol. In just a second, she took out 2 men. It suddenly hit me. Before the apocalypse, Suyu was an airgun enthusiast. Her marksmanship was even at a national team level. Soon after, the remaining gang members arrived at the scene. They surrounded Suyu completely. I was sure she wouldn't make it out alive this time. I recalled my drone, ignoring what happened next. Sitting in the cockpit, I let out a long sigh. Finally, Suyu was dealt with. Now, I just had to focus on the criminal organization. I wouldn't let anyone who knew my location live. I wouldn't expose myself to danger. As I relaxed, hunger suddenly hit me. I went to the alternate dimension to pick today's ingredients. After an hour of work, a pot of red wine braised beef was ready, filling the air with its rich aroma. I ate while scrolling through news on my phone. Then, a headline made my hair stand on end. Turns out, humans weren't the only ones affected by the apocalypse. Many animals had mutated too. Recently, people had spotted them, from bears and tigers to insects and rats. Their evolution was more advanced, making them even deadlier. As I worried about the future, the gang was celebrating a new recruit. And this person had mutated in just months. More animals had changed, their power and threat multiplying exponentially. All of this left me torn. If I got closer to the city, you'll be surrounded by zombies. You also have to deal with the criminal gangs in the city, but you're stuck in the suburbs. This is a paradise for animals. Accidents can happen at any moment. But that's not the only bad news. As usual, I used my drone to patrol the city when I suddenly spotted a familiar figure. I immediately steered the drone to follow, but then lost the target around a corner. A sense of unease crept over me, and my fears were justified. Suyu wasn't dead after all. I didn't confirm if she was down before I hastily recalled the drone. But then, Suyu proposed a partnership to the criminal gang. She handed over all my intel to them. She even dug up my pre-apocalypse shopping list and told them my RV was stocked with supplies worth over 100 million. All she asked for in return was a small cut. Plus, she was willing to reveal the RV's layout and attack methods to them. I originally planned to use the gang to eliminate Suyu, but they secretly struck a deal instead. My two biggest threats were teaming up, and I was completely in the dark. Right now, I just want to escape this danger zone. I started the RV and headed away from the city, but soon after, my surveillance system alerted me that something unknown was approaching. I zoomed in and saw a mutated boar charging straight at me. It slammed hard into my RV. I retaliated immediately, activating the electric fence. But what happened next filled me with despair for the first time. The mutated boar was attacking me relentlessly, and in the distance, more zombies were converging toward me. My proudest survival tool had failed me at this critical moment. The electric fence was useless against the boar. Its ramming grew even more violent. I could feel the RV shaking violently. Its noise also drew the zombies nearby. I floored the gas, hoping to shake off the boar, but it sped up again, and this time, the impact sent my RV spinning out of control, nearly crashing into a tree. I realized running wasn't an option. I had to take it down fast. Leaving the RV now was risky, but letting it keep attacking would lead to even bigger trouble. I rushed to the interdimensional armory and grabbed a high-powered machine gun. I also picked up a bulletproof vest for myself. Once everything was ready, I caught sight of last night's leftover beef. I stuffed it into a bag while the boar was attacking the other side. I opened the car door and flung the bag as far as I could. The scent of meat instantly caught the boar's attention. It immediately ran over and started eating. Seizing the moment, I set up the machine gun and opened fire. Even under machine gun fire, the boar refused to go down. My actions enraged it, and it turned to charge at me. Terrified, I increased my firepower. Just as it was a few meters away from me, it finally collapsed, and I slumped down in fear. But the crisis wasn't over yet. There were still many zombies to deal with. Just then, the system reward popped up. But this time, the reward left me disappointed for the first time. The RV system actually rewarded me with a sound system. Who has the mood to listen to music in the apocalypse? I reluctantly accepted the reward. I returned to the RV and, as before, used the electric fence system to deal with the next wave of zombies. Exhausted, I decided to wait until tomorrow to clear the zombies. But this decision left me with another problem. The next morning, I discovered that my RV was surrounded by piles of firewood and straw underneath. And ahead, there was a massive spike barrier. Over a dozen gang members had my RV surrounded. One of them wore a creepy mask, sending chills down my spine. I instantly realized they wanted to burn me alive. But right now, the temperature outside was below -100 degrees, so even a lighter wouldn't work. Did they have some secret weapon? As I was thinking, the gang, like previous enemies, sent a representative to negotiate. Of course, I ignored them, but they clearly already knew about the electric fence system, so no one dared approach the RV. Just as I thought they might retreat, one of them stepped forward with a sinister grin. He walked toward my RV and pulled something out of his bag. I looked closely. It was a military-grade incendiary block. This fuel not only burns at extreme temperatures, but also works in freezing conditions. It's commonly used in incendiary bombs. The block ignited into a raging fire, setting ablaze the straw and firewood they had prepared. My RV had no fireproofing system. The temperature inside skyrocketed. Their meticulous plan left me in despair, and the next moment, something even more devastating happened. The masked figure slowly removed their mask. It was Suyu. Turns out she hadn't died that day. Instead, she had found new allies. Inside the car, the temperature was soaring. Outside, a fully armed criminal gang, Suyu, had me cornered. If I stayed inside, the rising heat would dehydrate and knock me out. But if I left the RV, outside was a well-equipped criminal organization. Even with my bulletproof vest and superior weapons, I'd be gunned down in moments. The car got hotter, my mind grew foggier. Just as I couldn't take it, ready to surrender, a bold idea flashed in my mind. I switched on the upgraded RV's audio system, blasted music at max volume. In the silent wilderness, that sound exploded like a bomb. Suyu outside saw this, and couldn't help but mock me. Said I was playing my own funeral dirge, urged me to surrender, give up, step out. Seeing this, the gang members all laughed. But I ignored them. I watched the sky system as more creatures swarmed toward the RV. So, resolved, I entered the other space, grabbed a fresh piece of wagyu to lure the mutants. From the armory, I picked a vest, helmet, and a trusty gun. Ready for a last stand. Outside, the gang realized I was luring zombies for mutual destruction. But they weren't scared. They had guns. Ordinary zombies were no match. Sure enough, the horde was wiped out. Before reaching the RV, I was about to charge out when a screech stopped me. A mutated eagle dove from the sky. Like a precise bullet, it struck straight at the gang. Instantly, one was killed. It was too fast to aim at. They fired wildly, helpless against its attacks. Mutated, its feathers were like steel. Even a graze from its wing left deep gashes. Several gang members were bloodied. Distracted, zombies closed in on the RV. The train team finally broke formation. The tide turned. Suyu, seeing danger, ran for the snowmobile. But in panic, she almost got tackled by a zombie. The remaining survivors quickly reacted, fighting while retreating. But the mutated creatures were still in hot pursuit. In the end, only 3 gang members were left. They fled in panic with Suyu. And that wasn't the only good news. The icy wind outside grew stronger. It actually blew out the fire under the RV. I turned on the AC and set it to cool. The RV cooled down fast. In this freezing apocalypse, I was the only one using cold AC. All I had left was to clear out the remaining zombies. Then wait for the eagle to leave. But who would have thought? It ended up saving my life at a critical moment. I thought, after surviving such a disaster, there must be a huge reward. Just then, the system reward popped up, and it doubled. 2 panels appeared in front of me. The left one showed the RV self-repair function. As long as the RV isn't completely destroyed, it will slowly fix any damage. The underside, burned by the fire earlier, was now good as new. The right panel was an unlock prompt. I tapped it. I rushed into the pocket dimension and saw, next to the bathroom, a new wooden door. I opened it. A blinding white light flashed. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a vegetable patch. A sun hung high in the sky. In front was about an acre of farmland. I excitedly grabbed a handful of soil, smelling its earthiness. I was thrilled. Then it hit me. Potatoes are tuber crops, and they grow fast. And in my pocket dimension, I still had plenty stored. I decided to test with potatoes. If it worked, even if supplies ran out someday, I could rely on this farm system. After all this, I returned to my RV. Today was a close call, but it ended perfectly. My pocket space leveled up, and my RV system improved too. I felt ready for bigger crises, with more to fight with, so I decided today, I'd treat myself. I had some rare fruit, took a hot bath, then started browsing news on my phone. Today showed me, in the apocalypse, intel is stronger than weapons. The more you know, the better. Just then, a message caught my eye. 3 days after Suyu and the gang attacked my RV, I finally cleared all the zombies and barricade traps around it. I decided to drive far away from here today. All the recent fights have been making too much noise, drawing more zombies and mutants to the area. I need to find somewhere quiet again. Plus, there's this message from last night that's bugging me. Someone actually made a field guide for mutated creatures. They ranked them by danger level. Starting from F, the least threatening, like ants or sparrows. B-class are creatures regular people can't handle. Like that wild boar from the other day. And yesterday's hawk? That was an A-class. Even a well-equipped squad would struggle against it. S-class are the big predators, tigers, leopards, black bears. If you run into one, you might as well give up. But what really gets me is what's above S-class. SS and SSS. What kind of terrifying creatures could be worse than those? Just thinking about it gives me chills. I've been scouting the area with my drone these past couple days, and marked a few safe spots. I'm heading to one today. Meanwhile, the gang took heavy losses in that failed attack. They lost a lot of guns, ammo, and supplies. And they're blaming all of it on me. Suyu even swore in front of everyone, vowing to make me pay in blood. I have to find the tracking device Suyu planted soon, or else I'll be dealing with their endless harassment and revenge. Now it's a race against time. Before Suyu and the gang launch their next attack, I have to shake their surveillance. To stay safe, I drove through the night to one of the marked safe zones. After a quick meal at the destination, I went to the farm area in my pocket dimension. To my surprise, the potatoes I planted yesterday were already sprouting. This farmland must have special bonuses too. Anything planted here grows faster. I rushed over to the storage room in the pocket dimension, looking for seeds to plant. Unexpectedly, I found a whole big bag of them. Must have been a gift from that farmer. When I bought supplies in bulk, came in handy after all. Looking at all the different colored seeds, I guessed it was a mix of crops. I figured why not, spent the whole day planting them all, then went back to the RV, and took a hot bath, and reviewing the encounters of the past few days. My biggest threat right now is Suyu's tracking. And the RV, its biggest flaw is the RV can only defend passively. The electric grid system is only effective occasionally. I urgently need to find a way to take the offensive. But in the end, I decided to deal with Suyu's GPS first. Actually, long before the apocalypse, I had already thoroughly inspected the RV, but there were no clues. It seems its exact location should be near the engine. Before, I couldn't check it because I was afraid of damaging the RV. But now the RV has a self-repair function. No matter how much I mess it up, it can restore itself. So I smashed open the engine directly. Sure enough, I found a small chip. This means, from this moment on, I'll be free from Suyu's tracking. And I have another plan. I decided to give Suyu a big apocalyptic gift. Since the apocalypse began, she's been trying to kill me. But this time, I decided to strike first. I attached the GPS to a drone, and flew it toward the forest. I left it deep in the woods. If Suyu recklessly goes there, the mutated beasts in the dense forest will tear her apart. After handling all this, I let out a long sigh of relief. I turned on the RV sound system and played soothing music. While listening, I picked ingredients from the alternate space. Because I didn't know before that the RV had a preservation function, I didn't store much seafood. But today, to celebrate, I decided to splurge. I chose sea cucumber, abalone, and an Australian lobster for sides. Today, I decided to make a deluxe version of seafood noodles. I finally got to taste this rare delicacy in the apocalypse. I also thought to myself, if the alternate space's farming system can really succeed, then in the future, not only could I eat fresh vegetables, but I could even have a steady supply of fruits. From now on, my daily routine, besides routine checks, would be farming in the fields. My intelligence gathering, of course, hasn't been neglected. I still keep a close eye on the outside world's movements. Right now, the civilian factions outside are roughly divided into 3 types. One is criminal organizations, another is well-trained and heavily armed mercenaries, and the last is survivor-led mutual aid groups. Ordinary people, no matter which faction they face, have no ability to resist. Just then, my phone buzzed with a notification. There's actually a fourth, even more powerful faction. I was about to click to check, but this message turned out to be far from simple. The world structure has completely changed under the apocalypse's influence. I never dreamed that this group could dominate in the post-apocalyptic world. Out of curiosity, I opened the files on the fourth faction, and what appeared was a name, the Midnight Circus. Turns out, the animals in the circus mutated due to the extreme cold weather, but the unexpected part was, they could still follow human commands. This circus wasn't just home to eagles and elephants, but even tigers, lions, and aggressive black bears. Ferocious carnivores. The circus members relied on their powerful mutant beast army to completely take over City Z. City Z is hundreds of miles away from me, so it shouldn't pose a threat for now. This info also gave me a new idea. If mutated creatures can be tamed, could I have my own exclusive pet? But I quickly dismissed the thought. After surviving attacks from eagles and wild boars, I've grown fearful of these creatures. Forget taming. I don't even dare get close. After checking recent updates, I returned to the alternate dimension farm to check the crops' growth. Just as I expected, even without fertilizer, they grew much faster than in the real world. Many had already sprouted. I identified the crop types online, and the results thrilled me. Most were fruit seeds. Grapes, watermelons, apples, and over 20 others. I was about to achieve fruit freedom in the apocalypse. Happily watering the crops, this joy made me overlook the lurking danger. Little did I know, this carelessness would bring me grave peril. Since removing Suyu's GPS, my days have been unprecedentedly peaceful. Aside from occasional zombie attacks, each day passed uneventfully. I finally had time to focus on my farm system, and life slowly stabilized. Mornings were for tending the farm, afternoons for drone scouting, and the rest went toward improving my quality of life. Before, most energy went to fighting Suyu's group, so I mostly ate instant noodles. But these past 2 days, I tried cooking new dishes: stewed chicken soup, cola wings, braised pork, unimaginably delicious. I live in an extreme cold apocalypse at -80 degrees. I haven't completely let my guard down. The Dark Knight Circus I found online earlier has been on my mind. I've already seen how terrifying A-level mutated creatures can be. I can't even imagine how scary S-level creatures would be. I need to find a way to attack from inside the RV as soon as possible. I walk into my armory, looking at the neatly displayed array of weapons, and can't help but sigh. Although my armory is stocked with top-tier equipment, they all have a fatal flaw. They require me to leave the RV to fight. But I won't abandon this fortress until the last possible moment. Just as I'm deep in thought, a bold idea suddenly pops into my head. Since the RV's rewards are always tied to me resolving crises, maybe if I solve another crisis, the RV system will upgrade again. There might even be offensive systems included. But deliberately putting myself in danger goes completely against my plan to survive the apocalypse by laying low. Staring at the fully stocked armory, I start to feel conflicted. I take inventory of the armory's weapons: pistols, rifles, machine guns, grenades, timed explosives. Despite their firepower, since the apocalypse began, they've barely been useful. I sigh and step out of the armory. Suddenly, the familiar system voice chimes in.
Congratulations, Master. You've successfully 500 hobbies. Mission progress has reached 100%. Would you like to claim your reward?
This unexpected reward leaves me baffled. I've never seen this side quest before. No idea where it came from. As I'm puzzling over it, I notice a yellow exclamation mark in the corner of the system panel. I click on it, immediately confirm the completion, and a blinding white light flashes. I have a strong sense of foreboding in my heart as long as this task is completed. Will solve my lack of offensive capabilities inside the RV. The system voice announces.
Congratulations, host. Task completed. Reward, RV glass fully upgraded. One-way glass activated.
I carefully read the one-way glass description. Turns out, this glass not only has 10 times the strength and hardness of tempered glass, but it also has a magical function, like a one-way mirror. You can see out, but no one can see in. Attacks can only be launched from the inside. I can't wait to test it. I press my pistol against the glass, and with a gunshot, the bullet successfully fires through. There's not even a scratch on the glass. I go outside the RV to test further. Even when I spray it with a machine gun, there wasn't a single scratch left on the glass. I was thrilled. My mobile fortress is finally upgraded once again into a moving armored vehicle, and my vehicle was about to face its first battle. To understand the principle of one-way glass, I used a high-speed camera to capture the moment. The bullet passed through the glass, playing it back at 1000x slower speed on the computer. I unexpectedly discovered that the moment the bullet touched the glass, I conducted several more tests. I threw things out from the RV, but this time they were blocked by the glass and fell. I speculated it must be. But this information was already enough for me. After testing the RV's new system, I went back to the garden to observe the growth of the crops. The potatoes planted earlier had already sprouted seedlings. Based on the farming tutorials I found online, I estimated the growth speed in the garden system to be about 3 to 4 times faster than outside. After checking around, the other crops were similar. I guessed in about a month, many crops, including the potatoes, would be ready for harvest. The day I get to eat fresh produce is getting closer. Thinking of this, I decided to treat myself. I took out fruits I usually save: watermelon, strawberries, grapes, cut them into pieces, and drizzled yogurt over them. A simple fruit yogurt was ready. Lately, without Suyu's harassment, I finally had time to relax and properly study my RV system. I always felt it had many undiscovered functions. I plan to focus my energy on developing the system. Now that I have offensive capabilities, the RV's active upgrade plan I had envisioned before could finally be put on the agenda. But just as I was using the Sky system to observe the surroundings, something unexpected happened. In the extreme cold apocalypse, the drone I used to gather intel unexpectedly brought big trouble this time. In the morning, as usual, I used the drone to scout around the RV. After confirming everything was normal, I recalled the drone. But on its way back, I had a vague sense of unease. I felt like something was watching me. So I changed the drone's direction and spotted something 100 m behind. I broke into a cold sweat and sped up the drone. After all, this was my only means of gathering intel around the RV. It couldn't be damaged. But strangely, this eagle didn't seem intent on attacking the drone. It was more like it was following. As the drone reached the RV safely, the mutated eagle circled a few times above it, and then flew away on its own. I didn't think much of it. When I finished farm work and walked out of the fields, it was already afternoon. I just stepped out of the anomaly zone. When I felt the RV shaking unusually, I realized something was attacking my RV. That familiar sense of danger rose in me again. I rushed to the window to check. It was the mutated eagle, ramming into my RV. I knew things were bad. I bolted to the armory, grabbed a weapon, and got ready to fight back. First, I fired a few test shots with a pistol, but its defense was incredibly high, just like the mutated boar. The pistol was useless. Next, I tried a shotgun, but the range was too short, and the eagle was too fast. I couldn't land a hit. Finally, I pulled out a machine gun, hoping to suppress it with firepower, but the eagle dodged every bullet with precision. I was truly helpless. That deep sense of powerlessness filled the RV once more. The standoff between me and the mutated eagle continued. On one side, an incredibly fast eagle, on the other, an indestructible RV with a self-repair system. Neither of us could gain the upper hand. Then it hit me. The earlier mutated eagle hadn't attacked the RV, but this one seemed to be following orders, relentlessly assaulting. Staring at the mutated eagle diving repeatedly outside, a sudden thought crossed my mind. Someone was controlling it. I dropped the machine gun, ran to the RV surveillance room, and used the Sky Eye system to scout the area. Sure enough, behind a tree 500 meters away, a shadowy figure lurked. He must be the one directing the eagle. Instantly, I shifted focus from the eagle to the mysterious man. I grabbed a sniper rifle from the armory and took aim. But the blizzard was fierce, and my aim was just average. Shot after shot missed, hitting the tree instead. The man realized immediately. His cover was blown. Not knowing where the shots came from, he scrambled wildly, abandoning the tree cover and running into the open. His mistake gave me the chance I needed. I realigned my sights. A shot rang out. I hit him in the foot. His agonized scream pierced the sky. I showed no mercy. Now immobilized, he went down under my follow-up shots. With its commands gone, the eagle stopped attacking. It stood frozen in the snow. I opened fire with the machine gun again. Easily solved this big trouble. I was about to breathe a sigh of relief. Little did I know, the real disaster had just begun. But suddenly, a thought exploded in my mind. The mysterious man might be a member of the legendary Dark Moon Circus. I was once again targeted by the most dangerous underground organization. To verify my suspicion, I approached the mysterious man's corpse and found a work ID in his pocket. It clearly read, Dark Moon Circus. I realized I had provoked a formidable opponent. I quickly returned to the RV and started searching online for clues about the Dark Moon Circus. While I was searching for clues, the system suddenly announced, "Congratulations, host, for successfully killing the mutated eagle." This was good news for me, because usually, I could only cook on the simple stove in the RV. Not only was the space small, but the firepower was also insufficient. Many homestyle dishes were impossible to make. I couldn't wait to enter the ultimate space kitchen. The neatly arranged equipment inside stunned me. A 3-meter-long stainless steel countertop, entirely silver white, with 3 high-power gas stoves on top, and an embedded oven below. Even a dishwasher was prepared for me. On the adjacent counter, a juicer, coffee maker, and toaster were neatly placed. On the shelf in the corner, dozens of sealed seasoning jars were lined up. From Sichuan peppercorns and star anise to cumin and chili flakes, everything was there. This was a full-fledged 5-star restaurant kitchen setup. Now I can try more recipes. My quality of life will take a quantum leap. The reward after this life and death battle seemed far better than I imagined. Meanwhile, the Dark Moon Circus also received news of their member's death. The others revealed fierce expressions. A perilous post-apocalyptic revenge was about to begin. I was gathering information online about the Dark Moon Circus. This organization was far more brutal and harder to deal with than I imagined. They had completely taken over the city, and were the undisputed rulers. Their most notable traits were greed and lust. Whatever they fancied, be it supplies or women, they would stop at nothing to get it. The entire city was their playground. Many original residents had already fled. Some women, to avoid becoming their playthings, even chose to freeze to death in the wilderness. The internet was flooded with curses against this organization. In the past, some people tried to resist and even formed a self-defense team. But within half a day, the 100-strong team was crushed by the mutated creatures. Since then, no one has dared to resist them again. They only vent their frustrations online. Amid countless curses, I finally found useful information. The leader of this organization is named Lufeng. He commands a South African lion and a jaguar. Not only incredibly fast, but also devastatingly powerful. The previous resistance team of hundreds was wiped out by these 2 creatures. The deputy leader, Luchin, is the leader's younger brother. He controls an African elephant and a black bear. Not only astonishingly strong, but also unnaturally resilient. Firearms are almost useless against them. The remaining team members also possess mutated creatures of B rank or higher. The mysterious person I defeated earlier also holds a notable position in this group. The more I thought about this information, the more terrified I became. I had to act quickly to counter this threat. Just as I was about to close the webpage, a bounty notice suddenly appeared before my eyes, and the target on it was none other than me. The reward was so high that many online formed teams to hunt me down. My life was once again filled with danger. I tried to escape by car, but no matter where I went, my location was precisely updated on the platform the next day. It seems the Dark Moon Circus has members highly skilled in reconnaissance and tracking. I gave up on fleeing. All I could do was deal with the threats that came my way, day after day. This went on for an entire week. After witnessing my RV's indestructible defenses and the high-voltage perimeter, many gave up on pursuing me. Plus, the extreme cold weather and the zombies near my RV acted as natural shields for me. Fewer and fewer people came to cause trouble. Finally, I had a moment to catch my breath. I made myself a simple meal, then tended to the crops in my garden. I thought to myself, tonight I might finally get some proper sleep. Just as I opened the webpage to search for the Dark Moon Circus's movements, my phone suddenly rang. The caller was the last person I wanted to see, Suyu. I answered, expecting her to whine again, but instead, she arrogantly issued threats. She told me to get ready because we'd meet soon. This time, we'll settle both old and new scores. I impatiently hung up the phone, but suddenly I came to my senses. Suyu actually has my address. She teamed up with the Dark Moon Circus, my mortal enemy from my past life. Paired with the strongest enemy of this lifetime, a bad feeling arose. I saw my mortal enemy, Suyu, standing in front of the RV. Behind her was a group of heavily armed people. Their equipment looked more advanced than before, but this time, they didn't resort to fire attacks. Just as I wondered what they were up to, Suyu spoke up, taunting. She wouldn't give me any chances this time. With that, she signaled the attack to begin. They surrounded my RV and pulled out what looked like water guns from their bags. shooting at my RV, watching those liquids continuously spraying onto the RV. I realized it was sulfuric acid. They were planning to completely corrode my RV. This method of attack was far more effective than smashing the door. The electric fence outside the RV was visibly corroding bit by bit. So Suyu and the Dark Moon Circus had struck a deal. Suyu would help them take me down, and the payment was just me and my RV. In return, the other side would provide equipment. The Dark Moon Circus hijacked a local chemical plant, producing tons of sulfuric acid overnight, all to completely dismantle my mobile fortress. Their assault wasn't over yet. Another group brought out flamethrowers, aiming them at my RV. Seeing Suyu's smug expression outside the RV, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I dashed into the armory, grabbed a machine gun, and as I pulled the trigger, several people dropped. Those outside the RV, faced with the sudden turn of events, were thrown into chaos. Clearly, they hadn't anticipated my RV's offensive capabilities. While they were still confused about where the bullets came from, I quickly took down two more. Seeing their comrades fall before them, the acid sprayers dropped their weapons and fled in panic. Suyu also lost her earlier arrogance, her eyes shifting from confusion to fear as she turned and ran. Just as I thought victory was mine, a second wave of attacks began. As I aimed at Suyu, ready to take her down, the RV suddenly shook violently. Something was ramming into my RV. I turned around to see an elephant charging at my RV. The deputy leader of the Dark Moon Circus had joined the assault as well. If the elephant keeps ramming like this, my RV will be flipped over sooner or later. So I grabbed a bunch of weapons from the arsenal and started attacking the elephant. But just as the internet says, the elephant's defense is shockingly high. Neither my high-voltage electricity nor machine gun could harm it. Even the most powerful shotgun could only push it back and slow its attack. And that wasn't the only bad news. Another black bear joined the attack. It was only a matter of time before my RV got flipped. I kept trying different weapons, but nothing worked. I thought about sniping the vice leader, but my Sky Eye system couldn't detect any enemies. They must have been prepared. He was commanding these two mutated creatures from a distance. Just as I was at a loss, I suddenly came up with a plan. I rushed into the kitchen, grabbed 2 big jars of honey, and hurled them out the window. Luckily, this time they weren't blocked by the one-way glass. The honey splattered on the snow, and it stopped attacking the RV. Turning to eat the honey instead. Seeing this worked, I quickly ran to the garden, gathered grass and leaves, and threw them out the window. In this extreme cold, fresh leaves are rarer than gold. The scent of grass made the elephant stop attacking. I was temporarily saved, and I quickly thought about my next move. Suddenly, the flamethrower scattered on the snow gave me an idea. I decided to take a bold risk and try a fire attack. While the two creatures were busy eating, I sprayed a ton of gasoline on them from inside the RV, then aimed the flamethrower and fired. Flames instantly engulfed the two mutated creatures. As expected, while they had high physical resistance and could endure the cold, they couldn't handle the heat. The creatures howled in pain, running around wildly. I kept spraying flames at them relentlessly. After 10 minutes of struggle, the bear and elephant collapsed from exhaustion. But I knew they wouldn't die that easily. I pulled out my trump card, a powerful rocket launcher. Earlier, I couldn't aim because they kept moving, but now they were immobilized, making this the perfect chance to finish them. A massive mushroom cloud erupted on the snow, the blast so strong it even shook my RV. Looking at the charred remains of the mutated creatures, I felt relieved, but the sound I was expecting never came. My RV system rewards weren't issued. This meant my crisis was far from over. I quickly activated my Sky Eye system. The area around the RV was deserted. I realized the surviving Suyu and the vice captain might have gone back to report. The Dark Moon Circus was about to launch another full-scale attack on me. After so many narrow escapes, I had plenty of experience. Seizing the moment, I quickly set up numerous remotely detonated C4 bombs around the RV. Once the enemy entered my range, I'd send them straight to hell. I wanted to set more traps, but my Sky Eye system suddenly alerted me. Someone was rapidly approaching my RV. They arrived faster than I expected. The final battle of the apocalypse was about to begin. The entire Dark Moon Circus mobilized, learning from past mistakes. They all kept a safe distance from my RV, only sending mutated creatures into my bomb zone. I pressed the detonator. Deafening explosions echoed across the snowfield. Flames shot into the sky. Some ordinary mutants were even blown into the air. In an instant, the mutants were nearly wiped out. Only the captain's lion and jaguar remained. They were severely injured in the explosion, covered in bloody wounds. I gave them no chance to recover, firing relentlessly at the wounds of the two mutants. Although their attack power and speed were astonishing, their defense was far inferior to the previous elephant. Plus, my bombs had drained most of their stamina. The jaguar fell first. The lion, as if following orders, began running away from the RV. Seems the captain ordered a retreat. He wanted to preserve his last remaining strength. I wasn't about to give him that chance. I increased my firing rate. A torrent of bullets struck the lion. It sprinted forward at full speed, not even stopping when it reached its master. My attacks had driven it completely berserk. It charged into the crowd, tearing apart everything in sight, including Suyu. The lion's claws slashed across Suyu's chest. Suyu collapsed into a pool of blood. Our feud finally came to an end today. The others weren't spared either. Nearly all were wiped out. The few remaining fleeing members lost the protection of the mutants, and had long-standing grudges with the city's people. I guess life wouldn't be easy anyway. I put away my gun. That familiar voice spoke again. I lowered my guard. I started checking the mission rewards, but I never expected that this time would be the last time I'd ever receive a reward.
Congratulations, Post. All mission complete. Defeated the strongest rogue faction, the Dark Moon Carnival.
Mission reward, Purification Ray. I checked its other functions. Turns out it purifies all mutated creatures and zombies within 1 kilometer of the RV, freeing them from mutation completely. That means from now on, my RV won't have to worry about attacks from these creatures. And if I want, I might even become the savior of all humanity. I was completely stunned by this reward. I accepted it and walked into my pocket dimension farm. All the crops were ripe, so I started harvesting. Time to treat myself after a long day's work. The table was full of food. I used homegrown potatoes to make a plate of spicy and sour shredded potatoes, cooked 2 hearty dishes, braised fish and red braised pork. I even simmered a pot of chicken soup. Even had dessert ready. As I ate, I planned out the future. I never imagined becoming a hero for all mankind, but I started to feel this might be the meaning of my rebirth. Like it was fate. and the apocalyptic freeze might actually end one day. If we can eliminate the mutated zombies and creatures, society could return to normal. The RV's safe, but I miss the feeling of running free under the sun. So I decided to drive the RV around the world while lying low inside, until the apocalypse ends. 5 years passed. I traveled the globe. My farm grew many new vegetables and fruits. My cooking improved a lot. One day I woke up and saw the sun blazing in the sky. I was thrilled. I grabbed my phone. Official news, global temps rising. Experts predict the ice will melt completely in about 3 months. In half a year max, temperatures will be livable for humans again. The deep freeze is finally ending. I stepped out, touched my RV, and remembered everything we'd been through. All these years, it's thanks to this thing. I survived disaster after disaster. Reborn once. I actually made it to the end. Half a year after the freeze ended, life slowly returned to normal. Everyone worked hard, rebuilding their homes. I joined in. I also met the one destined for me. And today is the day we take our wedding photos. We happily snuggled together in front of the church. Suddenly, the photographer stopped his camera and looked up at the sky. The sky was dyed a bloody red. The temperature began to rise eerily, as if something was rapidly descending upon us. In the distance, the cries of people could already be heard. My partner was the first to react. He grabbed my hand and ran toward the bomb shelter. The apocalypse had struck again. Ahead lay unknown fears and formidable foes.